Hey, welcome back to the About the Labor podcast here at Vikings Territory.com. I am BJ Reidell, back here with my guy, Drew Mahowald. And here today we're talking big win for the Minnesota Vikings. Case Keenum leading the charge, pretty much shutting all of us up after pretty much everyone said he couldn't do it. Leading up to this game, Vikings win 34-17. So, with a lot of points comes a lot of talking points. So there's a lot of stuff for us to get through here over the next 60 minutes. Obviously, Case Keenum will probably be a big piece of that. Solid defensive effort, 3 turnovers. I'm sure that's something we'll have to talk about as well. First, though, real quick, I just wanted to apologize real quick for oversleeping this morning and missing the pregame show. It sounds like Drew gave away some tickets, though, so congrats to the person that won those. And, I will I will be awake next week. But anyways, let's jump into the sponsor note here, and then we'll get going on some Vikings content. Where is it? There we go. Black Stack Brewing, brand new brewery smack dab in the middle of Minneapolis and St. Paul with a wide range of clean, flavorful brews and a massive bright tap room, perfect for intimate settings, all the way to special events. Black Stack Brewing, 755 North Pryor, just north of Menards off of University Avenue. And Case Keenum, I don't even know how to lead this off. What I said initially, nobody thought this was possible, right? There was I saw pretty much every time there's a large crowd favoring one side, there's always one guy who's just like, nah, he's gonna blow it, he's gonna blow up. You guys are out of your minds. I never saw that guy. I really don't think anyone thought Case Keenum was even capable of this. He comes in and blows the barn doors off. What did you think of his performance? What made him so successful? Just what did you think of Case Keenum today?
It was the complete opposite of what we saw in Pittsburgh last week. From the technical aspects of playing the position to his accuracy, his presence in the pocket, it was completely flipped from last week. Last week he was erratic with throws. As we talked about, I think on every show this past week, his tendency in the pocket when there's pressure was to go backwards, trying to avoid it that way, and then throw off his back foot. And he did the complete opposite this week. Honestly, the pressure was much, or the protection was much better as well. We should give credit to the offensive line. Both tackles were phenomenal on the outside. So, that obviously helped quite a bit. But Keenum's accuracy on short, intermediate, long, or deep throws was all wonderful, and it was great to see that because I think. A lot of people, including myself, are doubting the Vikings' chances of staying competitive until this whole injury situation solves itself, whether it be Bradford or Bridgewater coming back next. And Case Keenum, and this was my opinion this offseason. Bringing Keenum in kind of could give you that gap, and the Vikings could still win games for a few weeks if they needed to bring him in, But I did not expect 369 yards, 3 touchdowns, and nearly a perfect passer rating. I'm speechless. I don't know what else to say.
It really is one of those things. It's just kind of it takes your breath away completely when you actually break down what just happened. This is a guy that he won 3 games last year. I looked this up. This was his 28th game in the NFL. Third 300-yard passing day. This was the best start of his entire career. Case Keenum literally came out there and did everything possible and more, despite everyone saying he can't do it. I don't know. It says a lot about who he is, and I think that's a big reason why he was able to, command the huddle so well today. He's got great character. So, this is a very highly competitive, motivated guy. And honestly, he was a lot of fun to watch. Him going vertical today, he did, it wasn't just that he was accurate downfield. It was the fact that he was taking those risks in the first place, right? He was going.
It was early and often, too. It was right away.
All hands on deck. They were going right after the fact that Brent Grimes wasn't out there. Case Keenum torched that secondary. It's hard to imagine he could be able to do that without such great receivers like Thielen and Diggs, who per standard, went off this week. I think there's probably an argument that they're one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL right now. But before we get into Cook, Diggs, all those skill players and whatnot, let's talk a little bit about that offensive line. You mentioned that they were great today. They were phenomenal. Like, this is we came into this week basically saying that Gerald McCoy and Noah Spence are going to be a problem. Noah Spence obviously goes out early, so that helps for the Vikes. And then Gerald McCoy misses a little bit of time. But when both of those guys were in there, the protection was still great. This was as good or better than week 1, in my opinion. Mike Remmers, I saw PFF threw it up. No pressures allowed today. So, this was kind of a shut up Vikings Twitter week. You got Trey Waynes with the interception, like literally as people are talking about how he's a bust, like literally simultaneously almost. Mike Remmers, nothing. Riley Reef says no. It was unbelievable. Case Keenum, I don't know. I thought it was just everyone stepped up this week, and that's kind of. When the big guys like Sam Bradford goes down, that's the only way you're going to win is if someone else steps up. And yes, it's the ultimate cliche. I'm well aware of that, but that's what happened this week. That's why it's a 17-point victory, not the other way around. And for what it's worth, probably the most satisfying victory that I've had in a while after dealing with Buccaneers fans for the last 48 hours. So I am very, very
Your
thrilled
Twitter
about
feed
this one.
was pretty fun to watch the past 2 days.
Yeah,
but Laquan Treadwell didn't fulfill your predictions there. But it's not
not
like their end of the bargain really filled either. I mean,
for what it's
secondary
worth,
gave up 369 yards to Case Keenum.
For what it's worth, it was a bold prediction. It wasn't something that I was like saying this is going to happen. It was like, I think this is going to happen, and here's my reasons why. It's like, okay, think about it. But on top of that, if Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are always open, you don't get to your third read.
That would be. They combined for what, 270 yards.
Yeah,
Diggs and Thielen did
173 and 97. Yeah,
three guys right there accumulated 300 something receiving yards.
Mm-hmm.
But the protection, especially on the bookends, I thought was really, really good. Nick Easton was better. But I still think there are struggles there. He's struggling. He had a couple penalties. He
struggled early in the game. He seemed like he got progressively better, like at least more consistent.
Against the ground, on the ground, I think he and Elfline both were kind of initially struggling to get leverage there. But it's definitely coming around. It's definitely light years ahead of what it was last year. So
it's a lot better than I think we could have expected. To this point, or period.
I would never expected any type of game like this all year.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's still flaws because there isn't every game, situation, whatever, but as an overall performance, his offensive line was better than I expected. And now the Vikings, as of the, once the afternoon games today were done, before the Sunday night game, Raiders-Redskins, the Vikings had the second highest total of yards per game offensively in the league, behind New England. So, that's kind of cool.
That's
400 yards per game, which even with a dud in Pittsburgh,
coming off of a couple of years here where offense was, let's say, limited, put it that way. It's fun to see that not only were the Vikings told us this was going to happen. They kept telling us. They kept saying, it's going to be explosive this year. We're going to be an explosive offense. And we were all like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll see. We'll see about that, Pat. We'll see about that, Pat.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Thing. That's how I reacted. I was like, yeah, okay, Pat.
And you know what? I don't blame it. I'm not making fun of anyone for giving anyone trash for having that take. It makes sense. But the point is that the Vikings telegraphed it, and they have been explosive the entire year. Even in Pittsburgh, they were trying to be. They couldn't. But this week was a whole different story. Let's talk about those two explosive receivers here. I think we have to start with Stephon Diggs. Now, I think this is kind of funny. So coming into this year, only had scored touchdowns against the NFC North. Now he's only scored touchdowns against the NFC North and the NFC South. So that's what Stephon Diggs does. He attacks. Apparently, it's two two divisions that they got to watch out for because he's getting in the end zone because he's torching all of these teams. I mean, puts up 170 plus today, all over the field. I mean, if you watch like the replays when they would slow it down mid game, you could see that Thielen and Diggs were getting open at the same time on a lot of plays. Like, it wasn't just one guy getting open. It was like
that's partially the reason, why Trundle's not getting the balls, because those guys are wide open and they're reads 1 and 2. So yeah. I
mean, it's just the Vikings did everything possible to give Case Keenum the opportunity to do this, right? Pat Shurmur called, I'm going to say he called the best first half of his career because I thought that kind of going into prevent offense mode with 8 minutes, that kind of bugged me just because as Vikings fans...
Kind of got bailed out by a couple interceptions.
Yeah, right. I mean, as Vikings fans, we know what happens if you don't step on the neck. They're not dead. So that kind of bugged me. But in terms of getting Case Keenum into the game and like integrated into what they're doing, basically getting him going a little bit, I thought he called a great game. This is probably the best game that he's had since being here in Minnesota. And now we've got a fairly sizable sample size at this point. Through 3 games, he is making his quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers better. All 3 of those groups are, Dalvin Cook's a rookie, obviously, but all 3 of those groups are on pace technically for career years. So, I mean.
Yeah. Diggs and Thielen are 2-3 in the league in receiving yards right now, or at least they were.
With Case Keenum as their quarterback.
I mean, here's my thing though. Like if I'm gonna be the guy that's like, well, actually, I mean, you had 2 home games against NFC South teams that, I mean, I thought Tampa Bay was gonna be really good this year, and I still think they can be, but the Saints weren't anything special. And then you have a road game against the Steelers team that, I mean, I said this on the show. I never, against the Browns, they weren't that impressive. Against the Vikings, they were handed a bunch of points on penalties, and it really should not have been as big of a deficit as it was. And then they lost to the Bears today. So I don't think they're that impressive, and the Vikings were a complete dud performance there. Obviously with some penalties on the defensive side helping, but the offensive side only put up 9 points. So, it's still a mixed bag to me. Obviously, it's a very hot and cold thing right now, and you're going to need probably another hot performance against Detroit coming up here because they nearly upset. They were literally inches away from upsetting the Falcons today. So I can't imagine, it's going to be an easy one. That's probably the toughest test of the year, I think, tougher than Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll be talking about Detroit quite a bit this week. It'll be it's going to be. I mean, it'll be a great NFC North showdown for sure.
It's an important one. One of the most important games of the year, probably.
I mean, do we have to reiterate this again? Last season, it was the Detroit Lions games that defined postseason versus sitting on your couch for the Vikings.
Yeah.
So with I guess with Diggs, with Thielen, there are a ton of good receiving duos in the NFL, but just in general, like in your mind, when you think of those two, what are you consider this to be like a top 5 receiving duo? Because I remember Nate Burleson at the beginning of the year did receiving duos, and he had Diggs and Thielen at like 14 or something like that, which we both said was embarrassing. Like they're clearly just.
And now they're 2-3 in receiving yards in the NFL.
I mean, is this a top 3 or 4?
It's got to be.
Is Diggs becoming a top 10 receiver? Like 10-ish?
Well, the one question I had with Diggs was his ability to make the contested catch, and that's literally. That's the one. He's thriving in those situations this year at an efficiency clip I did not expect in the slightest from Calvin Johnson or something. I mean, it's absurd. I think there was some stat. I think it was Matt Harmon from NFL.com, or I think that's who put it up. But it was some absurd stat about how efficient he is making catches when there's less than 1 yard of separation. And that's the thing too. We should probably point out here is that Keenum was fantastic today for sure, but I think particularly in the first half. He was bailed out quite a bit by Thielen and Diggs on a few of those plays.
Adjusting the ball in there.
Yeah.
I mean, those two guys are the best in the business for that.
To Diggs, the first one. And then you also had that corner route to Diggs that was almost thrown to the turf, but Diggs dove down and snatched it. So, they are at least a top 5 wide receiver duo in the league. Maybe I'm trying to think right now off the top of my head who would be better. I mean,
Philadelphia probably has a good Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant is better.
Bryant.
Julio Jones, Taylor Gabriel, maybe. That's not. I mean, they're not. That's Alshon Jeffrey and who else do they have in Philadelphia?
It's like Torrey Smith or something.
Yeah, Torrey Smith. No, probably not them.
Probably not. I mean, I'm trying to think right now. Who else would you put up there? I mean, it's Mike Evans and nobody. I mean, we saw that today.
Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, no.
You could maybe do that, maybe, but I
don't know. I don't think so. I don't see that. Patriots, Brandon Cooks and Julian Edelman. If Edelman was in there, that would probably that one would work.
I mean, it's not a thing anymore, but yeah. But still, I mean, it's the fact that we're thinking this long about it says something. I mean, we're trying real hard here because, I mean,
they're very talented, and it's showing up, right?
I would say Sean Jackson today did kind of show some.
Oh yeah, how about the receiving duo that we played today? Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans.
I'm still not I've never really been high on Deshaun Jackson, and I think his touchdown catch today was a bit of a fluke because Jermaine Brock just didn't ever locate the ball, and then he turned his head and still didn't see the ball. So, any other cornerback in that situation probably locates it and somehow affects that because Deshaun Jackson is not winning contested catches like that ever. So
it was not a good debut for Jermaine Brock. I think he had a couple penalties.
I think on that one drive he allowed a completion that had the penalty and then gave up a touchdown in a row. Yeah,
it was not a great day for him. But Dalvin Cook, another great day. He only averaged 3.9 yards per carry, I think, but it seemed like he was very consistent throughout the day. He had, I believe, the one long run. I mean, what more can you say about the kid? I believe he's up to 288 yards through 3 games now, almost averaging 100 yards per game. That means he's just doing an incredible job. He's light years ahead of.
He didn't drop any passes today either.
No, I mean he's light years ahead of every other rookie right now. Leonard Fournette is not doing nearly as well as Dalvin is. Oh, Kareem Hunt, I guess, is the only one that's in the same stratosphere, and obviously Kareem Hunt's kind of nuts himself. So. I mean, what do you think of Dalvin Cook's performance today? He gets his first career touchdown, too. That's nice to finally get that out of the way.
By the way, about that touchdown, I don't know if that was a touchdown. It was one of those where I think if it was called a fumble on the field, it probably would have stood. But hey, I mean, I'm not here to complain about that. I'm here to. I mean, the rest of the game for Dalvin Cook, I think he does really well with what he's given. You know.
Yeah.
I think the run blocking is still leaving some to be desired, especially kind of in the A gaps or up, runs
right
on the middle of the field. So I think he's doing really well with what he's. I mean, I think Pro Football Focus said he had forced 6 missed tackles today and had, I think, close to 80 yards after contact or something like that. So I mean, he's doing a lot with what he's given, and he's not given a whole lot right now. But he's still putting up 100 yards or nearly 100 yards, and then he also had some he showed some serious receiving ability today.
Right.
Didn't drop any passes, and also yards after the catch were pretty good too. So he's looking at he's living up to the hype, the top 15 type hype that he received as a prospect, and somehow fell to the Vikings. And after the trade up early second round, so he appears to be that franchise caliber, the guy that you want on your franchise at the running back position.
He is Adrian Peterson's successor, for sure.
And he's proving it. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. His first 3 games rushing yards are higher than Peterson's were, so highest in Vikings history.
He's been unbelievable. He's just so powerful when he runs. It's like, would you ever want you don't want to tackle a guy like that because he's moving really fast, and then he's big, and then he just lowers his shoulder into you. I mean, I don't know, man. He just runs with authority. I love the way Dalvin Cook runs the football. It's just he's a different breed. Like there are a few running backs in the NFL that are capable of doing everything Dalvin Cook is capable of doing. And that was kind of like. And
we're saying this after his 3rd game in his NFL career.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I think it's fair too. I don't think it's like an overreaction or anything like that because I think this is the mean. Like, this is what you're going to get from every week. You're going to get, a forceful runner that can pass protect pretty good, a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got that figured out. he could run to the outside. He could run, power. He could run zone. He could run to the inside. What can't he do? I mean, it's just it's so nice because now the Vikings don't have to scheme anything specific. They can just do what makes sense at the time. No one on their team is limited. Everyone can move all over the place. Dalvin Cook can do a bunch of different stuff. Thielen, Diggs can do a bunch of different stuff. I mean, you've got really good situational players like Jarius Wright who just runs 2 or 3 routes really well, and it always comes up with like a first down when you need it, or today he got a touchdown, props to him. It's just the offense is humming, and it's good for Pat Shurmur, good for Case Keenum. I mean, the Vikings, if we get to like week 10 and it's still getting performances like this fairly regularly, the
offensive unit has been better than the defensive unit this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. But if they're still doing this like going into December, I mean, we could be talking about the Vikings having 3 elite skill players in their offense, plus Kyle Rudolph. So
it was a non-factor today, by the way.
Right, but he didn't need.
I'm saying that as they didn't need to use him because
or Treadwell or I mean, what happens when Mike Floyd comes back now? It's starting to look better. It's starting to look good. I'm excited.
I still want to see some consistency. That Steelers game is still kind of.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, we don't know how much. If Keenum was prepared to be the starter all week, if he found out on Sunday if he was going to be the starter.
He had to have. I bet you he did.
I mean, we still don't know that whole thing, but part of it could have just been, first start with a new team, building chemistry, that type of thing. I'm sure that was part of it, but playing in front of our home crowd versus the terrible towels.
Maybe Shurmur didn't call a good game last week too, because I mean, maybe there was stuff that Keenum didn't feel comfortable with, because like today he just looked so comfortable running everything.
Yeah.
And his pocket presence was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like he was clearly stepping up in the pocket.
It helps too that protection was better. And
yes.
I feel like Tampa Bay didn't blitz nearly as much as Pittsburgh did. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I didn't notice that firsthand. So I don't know. I mean, obviously this is very encouraging. And
the blitz pickup was really good.
Keenum win a shoot. I mean, he could have won a shootout with Drew Brees today. Honestly, I mean, that's how we played. So this offense can ball. It can ball.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, just to add on to your blitzing comment, like I didn't see it a whole lot, but the one that I do remember, it got picked up by C.J. Ham, who absolutely smoked a dude.
Oh, that was the Diggs touchdown.
Yeah. C.J. Ham picks up the blitz,
and Diggs hit in the corner of the end zone.
Shout out to Ham because he's got the funniest NFL career right now. He's got 1 carry, 1 touchdown, 1 yard. And then he's got 1 catch.
Almost got it. Yeah, he almost got that other one today too.
Yeah, I mean,
Dalvin got down the 1 on a reception, and then
I know he's ranked as
CJ, but yeah,
he's a top 5 fullback on PFF right now. Just so whatever. Vikings got
fullbacks are back.
Yeah, fullbacks are back. So we said that Kyle Rudolph's non-factor. We already went through all the receivers and skill players. So I think it's probably time to move over to the defensive side of the football. Everson Griffin gets his 4th sack of the year. Vikings actually got someone other than Everson Griffin finally got a sack, Shamar Stephen, which little surprising when I saw a big fat guy in the backfield with the quarterback on the ground. I thought it was Linval. Yeah, that was his first career sacked. By the way, I'm pretty impressed with Shamar Stephen. I mean, do you remember during the offseason, I was complaining about how he can't pass rush, and
I thought he was going to be cut.
Yeah, I did too.
And then I saw camp, and he looked like the real deal. And then he earns a spot, and now he's playing above Jaleel Johnson, and people are kind of upset about that. But
he's playing well, though.
Yeah, he's playing well.
The Vikings got more flexible and more versatile this offseason. He's part of that. He just kind of added something to his game. So good for him. I think that's a guy we probably have talked about once on this show before. So good on him. So Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks have a nice day as well. But I think the real story here was the secondary, in my opinion. Like I mentioned briefly earlier, we have Xavier Rhodes has another phenomenal game. Trey Waynes gets torched up and down the field for a little bit, and then he just says no again, similar to what he did in Week 2 last year with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. He gets his first pick. I mean, it wasn't a phenomenal game by any means. He's still kind of a liability, but for the moment at least, it was nice seeing Waynes kind of get a nice confidence booster there. Andrew Sendejo gets an interception. I mean, he seems to be, a lot of people seem to hate Andrew Sendejo too. So
he made a lot of plays today. He hurt some people.
Yeah, he was laying the wood for sure. And then Harrison Smith breaks his interception drought. I believe it was now like at least a season and
It would have been that Giants game at TCF, I believe. That's what I think that was his last pick.
Yeah, so it's
been the pick 6 against Eli.
Yeah, it's been a while, so it's nice to see all those guys, forcing turnovers. Vikings now force. Yep, 3 turnovers. Those are the first 3 turnovers they've forced this year. So that's
let the record show that Trey Waynes recorded the first takeaway of the season for the Vikings defense.
Yeah.
By the way, maybe I looked at it wrong, and I need to watch it again. But was he not like at least a step or two behind Deshaun Jackson there, and the ball was just underthrown? Or maybe I'm looking at that bad.
I don't know. I honestly, I just saw him pick it off and just was like, whoa, like that just happened. Also, let the record show that Xavier Rhodes is the only starting secondary player without an interception. Trey Waynes and Anderson, they beat him to it.
According to Pro Football Focus here, he has the lowest grade of all the starters. All 11 starters, he has the lowest PFF grade, 43.3. Tom Johnson is second at 43.6. And then everybody else is at least 54. He is the lowest grade. So,
I mean, it's just like
that's what happens when you weigh penalties heavily, like weight.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're not that bad. Like they're not good. There are certain penalties that it's like, hey, absolutely not. But in general, they're not.
I think he had like a holding penalty today, and then last week he had the pass interference on Brown.
It makes it sound like one play like determines the whole game.
There's some conspiracy out there. I mean,
because
the
tweak that
Twitter,
algorithm.
Like, their official account will tweet out like Xavier Rhodes didn't let anything happen today, and have like the stats of like how many like it was like 4 catches on 9 targets for 36 yards today, and then they'll have a grade of like 24. Like how does that work? Like
it's 2 separate things. Like, that's the only rational explanation is that it's 2 separate algorithms that work.
To PFF's credit, the rest of their grades seem pretty fair, but like it's just so weird to look at Xavier Rhodes and that low a number, but then you have Griffin's at 84, Linval's 84. I mean, Harrison Smith is 89.7, and I don't know. It's backwards to me. I don't know. Maybe I have no idea how to evaluate cornerbacks, and maybe allowing 4 catches on 9 targets for 36 yards is bad to the number 1 or a top 4 receiver in the league. I don't know.
Yeah, welcome to Planet Zay, Mike Evans.
Yes, we should mention that now. So he locked down Michael Thomas. He had
Antonio Brown.
Thomas had about 50 yards. Brown had about, I think he had a total of like 60 yards, but he had only 28 on.
Michael Thomas had 22 on him.
Yep. And then Evans now, I think he had 9 targets when they were guarding each other, 4 receptions, 36 yards when Rhodes was guarding Mike Evans. And then Mike Evans threw a trash can or whatever that was on the sideline.
I loved that.
Frustration. And Xavier Rhodes retweeted that video.
Dude, it's becoming a thing. Xavier Rhodes drives people insane, so that they go throw stuff around on the sideline. I love it, man. He's like, Xavier Rhodes really is a whole lot like he's very similar to Josh Norman in my opinion. He's kind of like he's cerebral.
Not as loud, but it's like
he's not weird. Like Josh Norman's a weird guy, right? Xavier Rhodes isn't as weird, but like they play the head, the mind battle really well. And they match you physically, like they get right up in your grill, and they get you just off your game. So I think that's honestly, I think those 2 guys like they very similar playing style between Josh Norman and Xavier Rhodes, and they're both obviously elite level cornerbacks. Saying this right now, I'm just getting this out of the way. Xavier Rhodes is an elite cornerback in the NFL. There's no discussion here. I'm not going to debate anything. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'm just going to go to imright.com and tell you that I'm right and that you're wrong. Like he is an elite cornerback. He's top 5 definitively. If you're wrong if you think otherwise. Straight like you're wrong.
The thing is, like, his schedule the rest of the year, besides like Julio, I mean, like of the guys who he will be probably shadowing, or if he does even shadow, or
Kelvin
I don't know.
Benjamin.
I mean, he'll get Marvin Nelson, Jones next week, I would assume, because I mean Tate will be in the slot.
Who had 5 yards on 1 catch against Rhodes last year? 5 for Marvin Jones.
So then you'll get Jordy Nelson. Well, that's week 6. Week 5 is the Bears.
Kendall
who's
Wright.
that? I mean, who's that?
Kendall Wright.
Kendall Wright, or I mean,
Kendall
I can't even
Wright.
think of any receivers right now.
Or like Zach Miller, because they've been using a ton of tight end stuff in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, you just had 2 of the top 4 receivers in a row, and you locked them both down. So, but Pro Football Focus would disagree and say he's bad. So,
yeah,
whatever.
Everyone has their own.
This
scale.
rush defense, though, 3 straight shutouts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints were under 3 yards a carry.
Dude, I didn't even notice Tampa Bay running the ball today.
They had 26 yards total.
Well,
their longest carry was 4 yards.
Yeah, I'm just like in my head right now. I can't think of a time when they ran the ball like effectively.
Had 15 yards. Jaquiz Rodgers.
Dude, I mean, that's just like that. That's insane because like,
this was the like kind of one of those difference makers for this defense that you could. This is one way you could attack and maybe beat them. That doesn't appear that to be the case this year. It's not like they haven't been tested. They faced Le'Veon Bell last week and he was held in check. To say, to be generous. I mean, he was shut down. He had like 3.5 yards to carry. And then this week, Tampa Bay gets nothing. The Saints had nothing. I mean, they look like they're for real.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mean, did we tell you exactly how this game was going to play out earlier this week? Honestly, we basically said you got to turn them one-dimensional. They were one-dimensional as hell. Like, they could not have been more one-dimensional if they tried. And then in the fourth quarter, Jameis is going to probably try to do too much. That's when the Vikings are going to capitalize. They're going to get their first turnover of the year. Vikings are going to find a way to win this game. Guys, that's exactly what happened today. That's exactly what happened. You forced them to be a one-dimensional football team. The Buccaneers are just not. They're not dangerous without a guy like Doug Martin. Or it just as soon as Jameis gets nervous, like he doesn't focus well. He threw into triple coverage once, maybe twice today.
That Evans interception where he got clocked. Okay, first of all, so the Vikings didn't line somebody up like head on with Evans in the slot there.
Right.
So Winston's like, all right, there's nobody on him. I'm going to lock him down and throw it to him. So they showed this replay on camera of Winston's eyes. They're just this big. They're just huge. He's just looking at Evans the whole time. So then Smith, Sendejo, Kendricks, all of them just crash in. And then, of course, Winston decides to throw it anyway. And
interception.
Evans gets clocked. Smith gets the pick. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So the Vikings literally, top to bottom here, they did they nailed all our keys to victory, right? They got off to a hot start. They like I just said, they forced Tampa to be one-dimensional. They held Mike Evans in check. That's like we said, he's gonna get his, and he did to some degree. Yeah. If he had 7 catches and 67 yards or something like that.
Yeah. So no big plays,
Yeah.
I mean,
they were held
a lot of
his
his catches were just, like garbage time, keep the guys in front of you type receptions, which those happen. I mean, Winston ended up with over 300 yards for.
It didn't feel like it though.
Because of that. When you get ahead like that, teams are going to keep throwing, and you're going to give them the check down, and you're not going to get a lot of turnovers most of the time unless you're Jameis Winston and you force things when they should not be forced. But yeah,
and that's why you come to us after the game instead of drawing ridiculous conclusions from a box score. The box score lied today. It was dominant performance.
Vikings passing defense right now, if you look at yards per game, probably looks pretty bad. I mean, Drew Brees had almost 300.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger had 230 something, I think, and then Winston just had like 325. So, going by that, you're not going to get a very good conclusion of what the Vikings defense is doing.
Yeah.
So
they're doing a phenomenal job. I'm with you. I want to see it again, real quick. I want to see it one more time before I'm going to start buying into the fact that maybe Case Keenum can actually be like a kind of a productive quarterback in a worst case scenario. I did see today that the results for Sam Bradford's visit with Dr. James Andrews.
Surprising, by the way.
Yeah, it's just a bone bruise. So he might be back this year. And by this year, I mean like he could be back in like 2 weeks.
I mean,
or maybe
realistically,
next week.
he still could play next week. Like, apparently, I think it was Pelissero that said this.
Yeah.
But
Pelissero.
he said that Bradford wanted to play this week. Like, he wanted and thought he could, but then the staff held him out, and then they wanted to make sure. I'm thinking Keenum is the guy next week, but I'm not. I think it's very realistic that Bradford is the man.
Yeah. I hope that's the case. No pun intended there.
Oh, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. that was seriously no pun intended. But yeah, dude, it was just it was a very refreshing game after Pittsburgh. I was just I mean I had a smile on my face all afternoon. I just felt after watching that it was just so it was unexpected but also expected. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things where like you knew
it was not expected. I didn't expect that.
But like you knew they had it in them to win this game. Both of us predicted that the Vikings were going to win.
They could win, but not.
Yeah.
By putting up 400 yards or 450 yards of offense.
Right. I'm not saying that.
I'm
saying it was like we expected them to be competitive. And they basically were like, all right, we can do that, and how about this as well? Like that's what we got today. It was just.
And we should also note that the Buccaneers lost like every single starter on defense.
No, I don't care. They don't get to complain. You don't get to complain, Bucs fans. Our quarterback was out. Ha ha ha! Can't complain. No,
that's true.
No, I'm not listening to that.
The Vikings are essentially on their third quarterback, so I mean.
Sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen to that argument. I saw it immediately after the game. Immediately. And people were saying, well, Xavier Rhodes was having help over the top on Evans. Yeah, like every other wide receiver in the NFL. Like Stephon Diggs today. Like Adam Thielen today. That's how football works. God, I wanted to win that game. It's real nice. Really nice to win that football game. But I think, for as far as, a rapid reaction, I think we're about covered here. So let's get into the Twitter takes for today.
We got a couple Twitter takes here.
And then we'll wrap things up and be back later on this week with some more analysis.
Yep. Josh Swedland at Swedeskull. First of all, he sent us a tweet or gave us some mentions. He asked us about, how we feel about Case Keenum playing his best games against the Bucs because we predicted that this week several times. Actually, you did. I really just kind of piggybacked on it, but so that was you. And then he also asked, asked about Xavier Rhodes' PFF grades. He's asking if we can find out about Rhodes' PFF grades without penalties. And I don't know if we don't have that access, but I can't. Yeah. I imagine it'd be pretty good because they advertise him. And I think I just said this. They advertise him as like this shutdown elite cornerback with these stats that they put out, and Rhodes were closed today, and here's the numbers, whatever. And then then they have his 24.3 grade, and it's like, what makes you come up with that?
So Josh, I mean, what Drew just said, we don't have access. We can't do anything about that. Like I would love Eric Eager probably is the guy to ask on that. He has access to those stats. He does a hell of a job. So probably talk to him about that. As for, Case Keenum's big game, I believe the Twitter account telegraphed this. Yeah, I'm going to absolutely brag about that. Yeah, I called that. Yeah, I told you guys. I literally said to you guys in the most recent show, I'm going to tell you guys about the stat. It might mean nothing. It could mean everything. And if it's accurate, I'm going to brag about it on the next show. So here it is. I told you guys Case Keenum plays good against the Bucs. That's what he did, and now we're all happy. So you're welcome. So yes, I am. I had to sacrifice my firstborn son in order to get that accurate, so I could brag today. But yes, that was
okay.
It was great to see. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I was smiling all afternoon.
Now Mike Kraus at mkraus28 is asking us about the Diggs-Thielen duo that. We already discussed. Do you think they will eventually get more recognition nationally and become a top 5?
No.
Well, here's the thing. How many times did they bring up the whole Minnesota State Mankato thing for Adam Thielen? I feel like it's every time he caught a pass.
That's all they know about him.
Walk on that, whatever.
All they know about
undrafted free agent. That's the only thing people. Yeah.
It's all they got. No, it's never going to happen. I mean, I think that Diggs might be recognized nationally as like eventually as one of the NFL's elite, but as a wide receiver duo, no.
They play in Minnesota, you know.
Yeah, you play in
Yeah, if they
Minnesota.
if they continue to rank 3 in receiving yards in the league, sure. Because honestly, the way this offense is operating right now is like these two guys are getting heavy targets each week between how they're distributed. I mean, they're 1-2 in the progression on seemingly every snap. So they're going to get heavy targets if this is the case moving forward, and they're going to be pretty highly ranked receiving yards wise, you know, in the league because they're getting so many targets. So, you know, if that continues and they lead the box score stats, you know, if they're leading the league in there or ranked highly, they will start to get some recognition.
Yeah, I mean, you have to acknowledge them, but I'm saying like you're not going to get anyone talking like they're not going to ever get the publicity that like, you know, Des Bryant and Cole Beasley are going to get. I mean, like, yeah, that's my point here. Is they're never going to be recognized for what they actually are, in my opinion. You know, they're already a year late. They were a very, very good duo last year as well. So, I just don't see it happening. And honestly, I prefer it that way. Let's keep it that way.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. And we had there was a Twitter spat today, and our buddy Purple News at @purple_post had he had some Twitter mentions today that I don't want to go too far into detail, but that person was going, you know, talking about a conspiracy that Teddy Bridgewater is not actually hurt and that he is being benched because he's black and stuff. But anyway, Purple News asked us about Teddy's injury, and I'm kind of going to change the question a little bit, but do you think that this performance from Case Keenum relieves some of the pressure of Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater to come back, or is it kind of is it just they're trying to get back as soon as possible regardless of how Keenum played today? I
mean, it relieves some pressure probably in fans' eyes because now we have the same confidence that this team does. You know, I mean, everyone says it that they have confidence in Case, you know, and whether they believe it or not, I don't know, but they say it, so I'm going to just take them for their word. The team seems like they're already confident. Now they just, you know, it was reinforced. So that's nice to know, but I mean, give me Sam Bradford 10 days.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean like, it's like, okay, would you bring back Sam, you know, let's say he can play at like 85% or 90% next week, and probably. He has a higher chance of injury on that knee again, you know.
I mean,
do you bring him back or do you stick with Keenum knowing what he just did this week?
It's a division game next week. It's a really important football game. So, I mean, I'd probably bring Sam back. I mean, what's the risk? Like, if you get hit in the knee, your NFL career is over, well, then play Case. But, like, if it's like, just try, you know, wear a brace, be smart in the pocket, don't get wrecked, and when
Peyton Manning, if you're going to get sacked, just fall over.
Yeah. You know, I think you have to. I mean, guys, Case had a great game, great for Case, but, like, there's still, like, here, and then 50 feet of crap is in the middle. Like, he's a great dude. He's a highly competitive guy, but that's as good as it's ever going to be. So soak it in like I am. But like that's like
now he's gonna throw for 400 next week.
Yeah, if he does, I mean, like if he does, great. Like. I mean,
then we got a serious QB controversy, right? All the hot takes.
Yeah, we got three. The three-man controversy. I mean, someone said on the broadcast today, one of the broadcast, I can't remember which one it was, said
Chris Spielman, maybe?
Yeah, probably. Said, Case Keenum, he doesn't want to be a reserve quarterback forever. He wants to start one day too. And I was just like,
one day? He's already tried that.
Yeah, you know, whatever. Anyways, I guess next, let's do this. Let's get on to the next one here.
That's all we got, actually.
Oh, great. Okay, so that's it then. Good. Yeah, so I think that's the episode for today. So like I said, back out as always midweek with kind of some film review analysis, some updates from the injury report, and anything else that comes up. That's, you know, we're kind of on I think we got a nice schedule going here. You guys can understand the rhythm that we work at here. So, VikingsTerritory.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, of course, YouTube, Appreciate you guys listening as always, and back soon, and catch you later.